So I'll try to go through this pretty quickly. We have parents and student athletes asking questions about the programs that we run that are geared towards seeking out colleges, college preparedness, job preparedness, and then parenting preparedness. And they all have to do with pretty much the same thing. It's all about what's the difference right here between the top 1% of performers and the other 99%. And so I'm going to try and go through this pretty quickly. It's about creating an atmosphere of greatness, and that has to deal with who, what, where, when, how much, and why. And so, just to give you a quick analysis, a lot of times people will say, well, how much are these programs? Well, I mean, one of the different things too between the top 1% and the rest of the 99 is the fact that you have someone focused on the return on investment versus somebody thinking about the cost. And the top 1% are thinking about what their return on investment is. Are they going to a school like MIT, where it may be on the front end a high cost, but on the back end, the top earners come out of MIT statistically. We'll go through that in a second. Or is it something where it obviously needs to be affordable, but there is an investment and then there's a return on that investment. And so knowing the difference between front end cost and lifetime cost is very important. And so what we do is we break down when we go through, like here's just 10 examples. The top 10 examples that we go through is we talk about everyday habits, we talk about mindsets, food and nutrition, decision making, goal setting, organization and execution, practice and training, rest and recovery, internal and external communication, and then also attitude. But let's go up here for a second. And I'm going to take this up here so you can actually see it. So we have cost of college right here. Cost of college, $25,000 to $51,000 per year, depending on if it's a in-state or out-of-state, public, private. And then we have, again, 4-year degree earns you $23,000 more per year on average for those who don't have a 4-year degree. Then it lists the $37,000 as the average debt for a 4-year graduate. Now, not everybody graduates in 4 years, so that's like understanding that they're saying these are just the 4-year graduates. And that doesn't take into account like that you might pay twice as much as that if you're making payments on your loan instead of just paying it off. So if you're making a higher annual salary and you can pay it off quicker, then obviously it's going to be closer to 37. But the sticker price of college isn't necessarily the net price of college. And so there's net calculators and things like that to determine what that is. Now, that's all well and good, but again, we're talking about the top 1%. So the number one school in the country over the last 10 years for average salary has been MIT at $91,600. Then we have, like, compare that all the way, not all the way down because 21 is still really good, for Brown University at $59,700 per year. Now, obviously, that's a big difference, and that's still, Brown is way up there at the top. If you go down further from that, obviously it falls off pretty substantially. But then let's get out of college, and now say like a while after college, you go to the top 1% earning on average $717,000 a year versus the other 99%, $51,000 a year. Now, does that make much of a difference, or what does that translate to maybe in terms of like something that a high school student can understand? So the toughest sports in Division I sports to get into from high school are, this is what a kid would focus on, would be 1% of high school wrestlers end up being Division I wrestlers. 1% of high school volleyball players end up being Division I volleyball players. So those on average are the toughest sports to compete on teams in college. Now, you'd think with all this information that kids are out there seeking out information. But if you mention net calculator to a high school kid, the closest thing they might understand to that would be the snow day calculator. Ask a kid about a snow day calculator, northeast, they know what you're talking about. Net calculator, probably not. Then we'll go down here for, all right, well, maybe like later on in college they start looking at that stuff. Well, let's look at the most commonly searched things online. The biggest how-to isn't how to make $1 million or whatever. It's how to make slime. All right, well, outside of that, what are people searching? They searched Matt Lauer was next, and then Hurricane Irma, which is fear, which that's good. I mean, at least that's information to save your life. And then Tom Petty. So that was kind of passion. So again, what is the difference? That's what we talk about in our trainings to try and help people understand what they need to do to get themselves to the next level, whether it's as a student athlete or as a young professional or as a parent. So hopefully that spells it out a little bit different. And again, we're talking about the difference between return on investment versus front end cost and what did the top 1% do. And understanding the difference between the two is critical.